And we should.
We're in.
Are we?
It says on my thing we're now streaming live on Facebook. So.
Let's have a look. It does say we're live, but we just need to find where we're live. Oh, yes, I can see us. There we go. We are live. So let's just leave it a couple of seconds. Or there's probably me that's watching. There's people watching, right? If you are watching, just drop me a comment and let me know that you can see us and you can hear us and everything is all right, and then we will begin the session. So while we're just waiting, I was going to remind you guys, I'm like looking everywhere now. I'm going to remind you guys about the networking meeting on Friday. It's a completely free meeting. All you need to do is sign up to the emails, and then I will be emailing the link out to you Wednesday. So if you haven't received it, I'll put a post in the group saying that I've sent it out. If you haven't received that, then let me know and I can resend it. And also the mindset. Oh, hi. Yes, they can see us. Yes. Hey. And the Mindset Mastery course that starts on the 15th of March. It's a completely free course as well. It's a 5-day mindset busting course that's going to get you really in that positive, go forward growth mindset that's going to help you boost your business or your personal life. So today we have the lovely Louise. Hi.
Hi.
So if you've been to any of the networking meetings, you might recognise Louise. And also, you were one of the first people on my podcast, weren't you?
I think I was, yeah, I was.
So you might actually recognise Louise. But Louise, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and your business and tell us what you do?
Yeah, certainly. So my name's Louise Burke, and I'm a PR and marketing expert, helping small businesses basically get more visible, using PR and marketing. So all sorts of different size business. I've been doing it for a really long time, about 25 years. And just recently, back in November, I started a Facebook group called Get Yourself Noticed, which is exactly what that is. It's for small businesses, just offering free advice and tips. So yeah, that's me.
That is you. And I'm just going to turn my diffuser off because it's making me need a wee already. And that's it trickles and it makes me need a wee. It's lovely, but yeah, it's just not good when you're live and you yeah. Oh, I can't turn it off now. So today we are talking about, I'm gonna have to unplug the bloody thing. We are talking about LinkedIn because LinkedIn has me completely baffled. I don't mind admitting that. I love my tech and I love my apps and I love my social media, but LinkedIn just has me completely baffled. So tell us a little bit about the platform.
So, LinkedIn was originally kind of really much more of a B2B platform, but it has changed a little bit. And I think, if you ask a lot of people, there's an awful lot more kind of, I would say, more wellness people on there, a bit more sort of consumer based, but it is typically the place that you go to connect with mostly with other businesses. But it is a great place for small businesses, I think, in particular. Obviously there's lots of corporates on there, but it is a really good place if you really know who you want to connect with. It's it's a great place to make those connections and really get to know people and their business.
So Janine has popped me, she's going to watch on replay. She has popped me over a question. And what she has said is she's not got a LinkedIn account, but she's wondering if it's worth it for her business. She does decluttering and home organization and also doTERRA essential oils. If so, which keywords would be best to support what I do? Keywords?
Yeah, I mean, keywords they're not really, it's not really a keyword place, LinkedIn.
Okay.
LinkedIn is about, is about your profile, is about optimizing your profile, about really clearly explaining what you do. So the sort of the starting point, it sounds obvious, but the starting point for LinkedIn is basically getting your profile optimized. So, and there's a very important kind of section just below your name, which is kind of like your summary, and like with like your headline, and that's really, really important that you get across in that headline exactly what it is you're doing, and kind of how it is you're helping people, because that's what, every time you try to connect with someone, that's what they see. So because it's a bit like if you're scrolling on any other social media platform, you need to be able to quickly and clearly see what it is people do, and if you want to connect with them. So the starting point is really to make sure that you have a really good clear profile, a nice image. But I mean, just to answer Janine's question, I would say, so yes, I mean, you can connect with people, because there might be people in business who, just because it's it's maybe not a business service, they could still be looking for it in their personal life. And I've noticed it in the last sort of 6 months or so, maybe a bit longer, that LinkedIn has become a bit of a place where actually it's a bit more informal now. It always used to be this quite formal platform, but it's less so now, and you see lots of people sharing what you might have previously shared on the likes of Facebook. I think where Facebook has become a much better place in groups, and LinkedIn used to be a place which had lots of groups. The groups aren't that great in LinkedIn. It is very much, you again, like any developing any kind of business connection, it is all about knowing who you are. I always feel like I say the same thing, knowing who your ideal client is, knowing who you're after, knowing who you want to connect with, because if you make it clear how you can help them, and then you connect, you want to be connecting with the people that that are your target clients, so that they're kind of open to your connections. So again, it's if kind of Janine knows sorts of people that she would, so if she thought, actually no, I have some like professional people who are, I've helped this people and this is their profile, if she could kind of develop who that was, then she could perhaps start connecting with those people on LinkedIn. I mean, there's quite a lot of filters that you can use, like geography, your locations. You can do it by company, but you can do it by industry and job titles, and it's you can drill down quite to a really sort of quite a clear target.
Awesome. So talk me through. I've got a LinkedIn profile. I
Yeah.
had one years ago, but I've got this one now. But it just is. It's just sat there. Occasionally I go in and I pop the odd post in. I've just found out recently about articles, so that I can copy a blog post over. But what are the fundamentals of setting up you've spoke there about the photo and the
like your headline.
your headline. What else do you need on there?
So there's also any kind of it's a bit like having your CV, and there's kind of like a summary section as well, which gives you quite a large chunk. I think it's called summary. It's got a big sort of chunk of text where you can actually put really sort of like start asking people the sorts of questions about perhaps what their challenges are, how you can help them, and so kind of that's the sort of almost like the click the more bits, if you like. So you've got your headline, and then you click on more, and and you think, actually no, I want to know a bit more about them, and that's where you kind of almost profile who your ideal client is in there. But the thing is with with LinkedIn is it's quite I mean, I'll be totally honest with you. I did a course with a lady, and who's really is the LinkedIn person, is a lady called Helen Pritchard, and she's sort of quite well known in the world as the LinkedIn lady. And I have to say, her strategy is brilliant. And and I think what you do is you take that, but she take that and you probably change it slightly so that it works for you. But she has a real sort of kind of, and if she was stood next to me, I'd say she's a real ballsy approach to being, to connecting with people. So the strategy is that you don't you don't ever send anybody any inbox messages. But you connect with, you try and add 10 connections every day of your ideal client, but that you post really regularly as well. So her strategy is to post 4 times a day a variety of content. And although I have done that, I don't do it every day, but I do always post 2 or 3 things a day on LinkedIn. Because what you're obviously the how the algorithm works is that that obviously the more you connect with your ideal client, the more they see you, the more they see your relevant content, and then you kind of interact with them, and it's kind of like it all connects. So if it was you'd be connecting with who you're sort of, so like female kind of business people, and you would look at exactly really sort of tighten that profile down, and you would connect with those people, but you would share content that was relevant to them. So things like about your podcast, about articles, blogs. You also need to put things in there. You could put tips in there. You could put video is really quite good on LinkedIn, because it's quite a nice big sort of you get quite a big image on LinkedIn. So I would absolutely suggest anyone really using video. And you could do all sorts of, you talk about like Janine, she could do a kind of declutter top tips type video, and they get really good they get really good use viewing figures. So a bit like other platforms, a variety of content and on a really regular basis, and adding connections, a lot of connections. I've been sort of like employing that sort of really focused strategy probably for about 9 months, and I've got about 1,800 connections on there. I mean, some people have got 15,000, but those connections are quite relevant connections to me. So it's a great place, because what it is that you've got this whole audience of target clients that you can kind of just go and show up in front of, and it's there. And whereas it's a bit more tricky to do it on Facebook, isn't it? Because you think you can't you can't get the profile like you can like on LinkedIn. You're almost looking at their CV. So that's where I think it's really good. It's a really good place if you know who it is you want to connect with.
We've just had a question.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Malgorzata. Is that right? I murder my name, so I'm going to murder everyone else's name. The lovely photographer, Ms. Pullman, wants to know, what is the difference between paid LinkedIn and the free version?
So the free version, you get quite a lot in the free version, but what happens is that once you start adding things like you get to they have like a connection limit per month. So I'm not actually sure how many that is, but you get a point, and once you've added and done a certain number of searches, it says no, you're not allowed to search anymore until next month, and it renews. The other thing is with there's actually quite a few different options. So there's something called Sales Navigator, and there's also a professional kind of your business LinkedIn, and that sort of allows you. Don't know if anyone ever knows, when you look, you can see who's looked at your profile. And if you're on the sort of the basic edition, you can see probably maybe 1 or 2 people who have viewed your profile. In the paid for editions, you can see anyone who's viewed your profile, which is quite helpful. And you can also add unlimited numbers of connections. And the other thing is that you can send a certain number of private messages to people. I mean, I don't use the private messaging thing at all, because I personally, even though that somebody who said don't do it, I didn't ever do it anyway, because I think it's just a bit, I don't like people spamming me, and I don't want to spam other people, so I don't like it for that. But yeah, the difference is there's Sales Navigator, which is kind of like a really drilled down sales, how you can really look at companies and people within companies and who you should be targeting. But the professional, I think it's quite, if you're going to use it for your business, I think the professional is worth it. It is quite expensive. I think it's about £40 a month. But if you're using it as your lead generation tool, actually it isn't that much, really. It's comparable with lots of other things that you're using. So I think it's just anything, you just have to say which social media platforms am I going to focus on? Is it worth me paying for it? But probably for photographers, there's lots of photographers on there, loads, and of course it's a big corporate market, depending on, but and people, so there's lots of people looking for those sorts of services on there.
And she's just typed it. It's Margaret. That's how you
pronounce
it. Yes. So I have no idea. So I will apologise for that, Margaret. But I hope that's answered your question. You mentioned earlier about optimizing.
Yeah.
Optimizing your profile. Is that like a magic formula, or?
Well, I think it's just being really, like anything, being really clear, a bit like you are on any other social media profile, but you've got a bit more space. So it's not about, like any marketing, it's not about, oh, how wonderful I am and look how many qualifications I am. It's about how I can help you, and I understand what the problem, what challenges you're facing and how I can help you. So it's kind of, it's not about you, it's about how you can help your customer, or your client. And that's what I think a lot of people, that there is all sorts of space for like qualifications and job experience and all that sort of thing, so you can see that. So I wouldn't spend too much time anywhere else talking about those things. You really kind of, what you want to be really clear is the kind of areas of business that you focus on. So if there's a particular market sector, make it clear in your headline. And that's when I say optimizing, that's what you're looking to do. And there's certain things that there's also I should have had it up actually so I can remind myself, but there's like a featured section. So when you were talking about Michelle, so when you have articles, you can feature certain posts, and so it just makes sure you can make your profile look so much nicer than a lot of other people's, because they don't actually know that feature's there. But there's a section called featured, and you can put things like videos in there, you can put articles in there, you can put like favorite posts, you can put section perhaps like a from your website, and then you can change it around as you change your change your focus, or you've got something else, an area of business you're going to focus on, you can just switch it around. And that if you use images and things like that, you can make it quite visually eye-catching. So that's that featured section is definitely worth adding, and it's a lot of people don't know it's there. It's another good one to look at.
And do we stay strictly professional on LinkedIn? To me, it's like a grown-up platform.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? I don't think people do anymore.
Because it used to be, didn't it? It used
Definitely.
to be very like, if you didn't have a suit and a tie, that was it. You weren't in.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think you see lots more people on there, kind of, just posting sort of like more kind of personal. I've seen, there's a guy I follow, and he does like post pictures of his videos of his kids doing various funny things. I think it's not. I think it has changed. I think it absolutely was a really professional platform. There's probably some people who still think of it like that, but I don't think it's necessary. I think, like any other social media platform, you need to show the kind of the person behind the business, if it's a picture. And that's why I say videos work really well on there. I do a lot of video on there, and you can there's a live function, so you can go live. I don't know whether live really works quite as well there, but I think videos work better. But I get a lot of people say to me, oh, I like your videos, and you kind of, it makes you stand out, because a lot of people don't want to do them, and they're so simple to do, you know, literally just either on your phone or on, you know, on your laptop, you know, computer, and just literally face to camera, just a few tips about something, and people just like it. It's just a different way of consuming content. And so yeah, I think and you can do fun stuff, you know, like what you do at the weekend or what you're having for dinner, and people are moving more to that, I think. Now and you know, although you still got, you might ask me about that, but you know, things that you can have company pages and things like that on there. So but you know, it's quite individual, I think, as a platform, and I think you can make it whatever you want, but I think you stand out more by bringing your personality to it.
That's very interesting to know. So how do I find my ideal client over there?
Well, but literally, really, it's the same thing as if, you know, as who your ideal client is over here. You know, it's you know, you need to go into the search function and, you know, literally put in the parameters of your ideal client. So, you know, obviously you can't, it's not, typically it's more around, you know, job title, location, companies, sectors, industries. So you can search by that, and you can put in things like, you know, photographer, or you know, there's a lot of coaches and kind of like wellness, and you know, yeah, there are a lot, you know, there's quite a lot of copywriters, there's like, you know, me, there's quite a few PR and marketing, there's lots of kind of like, you know, professional sort of consultants, but I think if you know, if you know who, I think you have to know who your you know, your ideal client is, and I think that is, you know, you have to be very clear on that on LinkedIn, because otherwise you're probably going to end up connecting with the wrong people. And one of the things that LinkedIn does is it quite often suggests people that you should connect with, and often it's just to do with who your friends are connected with, and it's not often, it's not the right way to connect. You know, you need to be really clear and specific on LinkedIn who you want to connect with. Otherwise all your efforts of, you know, like creating content for your target audience just falls on deaf ears. So so does that make sense? Is that okay? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was, because you can't just, if it was Facebook and I was looking for my ideal client, you can go into groups and you can chat to people in groups and things like that. So my issue was actually like, how do I even start? Because I tagged that I trained with ICS, and that's it. Like everyone and their friends that's trained with ICS, now I keep getting connection requests for them, and I'm like, like, do you add them? Do you not? What is the LinkedIn etiquette?
Well, the thing about the other thing to remember about LinkedIn is that actually it's quite good to connect with anyone who really invites you to connect, unless perhaps you think they're not, you know, a bit strange, or, you know, it's not quite the sort of people that you want to connect with, being polite and nice, but, you know, if you see perhaps they're not the right people, or they're not but the good thing about LinkedIn is the more people you connect with, of course you then get connected with that, their connections become a second connection, and it's quite easy, because you'll see there's kind of like, you can go sort of like third. So these are people, so like there's first, second and third connection. So first connections are people who you were connected with. Second is sort of like the connections of somebody you are connected with. And then the third is connections of connections of connections kind of thing. So so the more people you connect with, obviously the bigger you make your world of connections to sort of target, if you like, if that makes sense. And so actually it's as well to always, if people invite you to connect, because you think, well, actually I don't know who, they might be connected with some people that I might be able to target. So it's that there is still that kind of networking thing that sort of goes on. It doesn't hurt, but you know, sometimes we'll get people connecting, obviously they just want to sell to you. But I would still say I mostly connections, because to be honest with you, you can ignore them. If somebody starts inboxing you, you'd have to reply to them. So I would say definitely, just accept connections, but when you are inviting people, be really specific about who you're inviting, making sure they are the right people that you want to connect with.
Awesome. And my second favourite A word, algorithms.
Oh, yeah.
Do we have, is there one?
Well, I don't feel that there is one, because I don't post at a specific time. So, sort of more on, like Instagram, where, timing does have an impact, supposedly. When I do my posts, I just post them all at the same time. I think it's quite strange. I mean, there's things that help on LinkedIn, for instance, like tagging people in posts to get them to engage, or perhaps if like if it was you and I now, if I went on LinkedIn and I said that we'd done a live tonight, so that helps, because it immediately introduces like me to your world and you to my world, so, and you immediately get more views, and so and you'll quite often get prompts from LinkedIn saying, oh, your post is getting, I don't know, it's got 100 likes, but you could get more engagement, or it's getting 100 views, and you get more engagement by tagging people. So tagging people really works on LinkedIn for more engagements, and you end up, I mean, I've had a few posts, it's interesting, it snowballs. What happens is that you have a few people, and what you need to always also do, just like any other platform, is engage. If somebody makes a comment on your post, you go back to them, reply with their name in the post, and say something back to try and get some engagement going, because then LinkedIn likes that, because it's making because you're telling people to get on the platform and engage with your posts. So so that really helps with engagement, and the more you do that, the more likes and engagement you have on a post, just the more views. I mean, I had one a little while ago with it's a project I do a pro bono role with my local football club, and we got them on the TV, and the chairman, I tagged him, and we got quite a lot of engagement between us. We ended up having, like, I don't know, something like 10 or 11,000 views of the post, and it was crazy. But it just shows you, and it just snowballed, and because obviously the more people saw it, the more LinkedIn promotes it, and of course the more people see it, and that's how LinkedIn works. The more people who engage in the post, the more they bring it up to the top of the feed, so that you see it more. And it's quite funny, because sometimes you get posts, and this is why I don't believe how the algorithm, I don't think the timing algorithm is particularly relevant, because you can have a post that perhaps you post maybe 10 days ago, and all of a sudden somebody has liked it, and you think, oh, that's weird, why have they liked it? But actually, it's perhaps somebody, it's just popped up. So I don't know, or maybe it's somebody who hasn't been on the platform for a while, they haven't got that many connections. But I don't think, I wouldn't get hung up on saying, oh, I've got to post at a certain time of day. I think you can just, if you're posting content, just put it on there. And I think it's more about stuff being relevant, rather than it being sort of timely, or at 9 o'clock in the morning, or whatever. I don't think there's a set time.
Because I don't know where I saw it or heard it, but someone said that with Facebook, if you post at the same time, it works against you, whereas on LinkedIn it doesn't make a difference. No. It doesn't, that people will still see it just as much as if you spread them out.
I think the thing is, I think any of these things, all they want, all of the social media platforms, they want engagement on there. And I think as somebody was telling me, and I know this is a LinkedIn conversation, but I'm not on Instagram, I'm not a social media specialist, but I do manage a few social media accounts for people. But Instagram, it's, you know, they reward you, you know, the more, if you post every day, you know, that's when things like, you know, like your reels can, if you put a reel out and, you know, it all of a sudden gets a load of views, because they're, you know, they reward people who put stuff on the platform all the time, and who take the time to put interesting things on the platform. And, you know, so I guess there are algorithms, and I'm sure, you know, LinkedIn, you know, I'm sure there is some sort of kind of algorithm that looks at people who are posting a lot and they favor their content, you know, but that's not to say, you know, you can't put, you know, you should put things like sales content on there, you know, you should, you know, put offers and things like that on there. Not, you know, you could easily put one on once a day, because the reality is that not everyone will see it, and that's why people get a bit worried, thinking, oh my God, you know, they'll think I'm posting all the time. But yeah, some people might, but they don't have to look at it, do they? I mean, I've never had people say, you know, but I've had people say to me, oh, you're really active on LinkedIn. But, you know, if it works for you, I have to say, you know, using the strategy that I learned, you know, I've won, you know, quite a lot of business from LinkedIn, you know, business that came to me. So from, you know, sort of posting relevant content on a really regular basis and engaging with the right people, you know, that's the basis of the strategy, really, which I guess is the same for a lot of bits, but it's easier. It's easy. I think it's easy to do so on LinkedIn, you know, with your ideal client.
Interesting. So that leads me nicely on to my next question. How do we convert these people into customers or clients?
But I would say by having, you know, an easy to buy, you know, an easy way to buy from you, to make it, you know, to make it easy, whether it's kind of, you know, whether it's a discovery call or, you know, I would always say that you should attach a price to it. Not everybody does, but I think people are too scared of putting offers and the money out there and saying how much things cost. But actually, you know, if it's too expensive, then people, or, you know, if it's too cheap, you know, people aren't going to buy from you anyway. So you know, I always think that's a good filter, that, you know, if it's not right. So, you know, do you want to do a free discovery call? Because actually free discovery calls, you know, depending on how you pitch them, you know, it's just people just, you know, you having to give lots and lots of free and typically on a one-to-one basis, you know, you give quite a lot away on a one-to-one basis because it's very individual. You know, and while I'm sure we all do that, and I'm, you know, I give lots of advice away, but on LinkedIn, I definitely think you need to put an offer out there on a regular basis. You know, if you still, like, I don't know, whatever you might, I know, £15.99, you know, just put it out there, and then sort of, you know, what you're happy with. And then I think it just gives people a bit of a benchmark to go after.
And do you do like a call to action as well, the same as you would?
Yeah, I mean, I do. I actually have like a £99 offer, which is kind of like it's a bit more than a discovery call. We do like a questionnaire and sort of, you know, sort of do a bit of planning and give some actions and record it so that people have got it, and I follow up with notes. So, you know, you are getting something, and people can, you know, they can either do, you know, take it and do what they want with it, or they can, you know, want to work with me further. So but I definitely think it helps to put an offer, because I think, you know, you see lots of people don't. I mean, how many people do you look at on, I don't know, Instagram, or actually even on LinkedIn? Not many people put their prices out there. So, you know, I think it's just easier if you kind of just cut the
Well, it means less backwards and forwards, doesn't it? Like because I'm having my web developed.
Oh, I think I saw that. I saw you
website developed. Oh my goodness, where are my words today? My website designed at the minute, and I was like, oh, do I put prices on or wait for the discovery call? And I thought, you know what? If they think I'm too expensive, they're going to think I'm too expensive regardless. So put it on the website, and it just might mean that I have less free discovery calls that aren't going to convert anyway. So yeah, you don't often see people talking about prices, do you? So we've got another question from Margaret. Okay. She would like to know, can you schedule posts on LinkedIn, and how?
And you can't schedule them in the app or in the in the application. So not, but you can obviously on things like Hootsuite and TweetDeck, I think as well. Hootsuite, you can do that on the free, on the free so the free level application. I mean, as I say, I manage a few clients' LinkedIn pages, and yeah, you can schedule on there. I've heard, I don't think it's right, because I think actually Hootsuite might even be part of LinkedIn, but I don't think, I've heard people say, oh yeah, it's not so good to do scheduling, even on any social media. I think it's different on Facebook actually, because if you do it in the business suite, it's fine because it's their application, and Instagram. But I don't think it has any impact, scheduling. I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? You obviously with the scheduler you can do things at different times. So if you want to spread it out, the scheduler allows you to do that. But something like Hootsuite, which I use, free version, for images, and you can see what it looks like, and in fact you can do lots of, if my internet connection was just coming unstable, but yeah, so yes, so the answer is no, you can't in the app, but there are scheduling tools that you can use which are free to do it.
Awesome. Anything else? Any other little nuggets of information?
Well, I think the only thing we didn't talk about is company pages.
Yes.
So and also articles that I think you talked about. So yeah, company pages, you can have a company page, and that's just, again, it's just another opportunity to sort of get eyes on your content. I think I mean, I do have one and I do use it. I tend to sort of post, I don't post all of my stuff on there. I post things like blogs on there. But the good thing about the company page is that you can invite your connections to follow your company page. So again, that you invite them and they can see your content. So it's just almost another kind of bit of belt and braces to get people to look at relevant stuff that you are sharing. So I think, and you can get things like analytics on the company page. And again, it's just like a little website page really. But it's quite, I would say it's worth doing, because it's a bit of doesn't take hardly any effort, so you might as well do it, and it's just another place to post your content. And then articles, so I don't know, I don't know about articles. I mean, I do use it, but I don't think they get, I still think you're better off putting them on your website, an article, and getting people to go there, even though LinkedIn doesn't love you for going off the platform. I think what do they gain from looking at, unless you've got some really amazing story that perhaps they might pick up, because sometimes LinkedIn, like their kind of news feed, picks up certain articles. But I think that's I think I would say do the art. There's no harm in doing the articles. Again, there's no harm in doing them, but I would still definitely host your content on your own platform. Always try and direct your not so much the call to action, that's all right, I can go, but anything, something like copy that I think you take a bit of time to do, I think it's best to direct people back to your own your own platform.
Interesting. Charlotte Marshall has put she uses Hootsuite for LinkedIn.
Yeah, and I'm really pretty sure, I think I'm right in saying I think it's part of LinkedIn Hootsuite, so I think it doesn't penalise you for posting. I think I'm not. I'd have to check, but definitely, for scheduling, it is good to scheduling. And you can schedule up to about 5 accounts on there, and I think you can do. I mean, I don't use it for Instagram or anything, but you can do. Other platforms on there as well.
Interesting. So, what would you? In what circumstance would you have a business page as well as or like a company page as well as your personal page?
Well, I have one. So, you know, and I'm only just, it's just my, you know, a solo business owner, sort of working with associates. So, you know, anyone who's got a bigger company, I said it's, you know, if you've got, you can put things like on the company page, you can put more, you know, like products, and you can sort of like split out. If your offerings maybe a bit more complex, it's quite good for that. But it is really, I think, if you're trying, you know, yeah, if it's good if you, you know, if you maybe you've got several, you know, several people in the company, even if it's a small business, but you know, you're trying to maximize your content, you can use the kind of the base of your company page, the basis of the place where you post all your content, and then get people within the company to share that content. So that kind of boosts it. So that does help. I mean, it depends, you know, it just depends how your business is set up. It's probably better, you know, the pages probably work better if you're a slightly bigger organization. But again, I just still think it's all about creating a variety of content for people to consume that's interesting.
Amazing. So do you help people with their LinkedIn? You said that you run a few people's social
Yeah,
media.
I do. Yeah, I've got I do about three companies LinkedIn. Yeah, and that's, you know, I just create a lot, variety of different, you know, so whether it's a written, and you know, I'm quite a big fan of stats. I think are quite interesting, pictures, and you know, motivational quotes, and you know, tips, and that all of those kind of usual bits of content. You know, I would say, you know, video. I'd say testimonials. So yeah, kind of like social proof works really well on there. It's a good way to kind of show up and prove that people, you know, like working with you. Sort of kind of like stories or content. Yeah, that's another thing on LinkedIn. You can put, there's like a stories, there's LinkedIn stories, which again is just very much like Facebook or Instagram stories. I don't know, it's not something I use a lot, but you know, it's just another way. I think it's much easier to look at those things in the mobile app. And one tip I would also say is that when you're adding connections in the mobile app is a lot easier than adding it on the desktop. So I would always suggest it's quite user friendly, the LinkedIn mobile app. I don't think it does quite as much, but things like adding connections, it's just really, really simple. And you know, once you've filtered, you literally just, you know, tap people to sort of connect with them. You know, if you ever, sometimes LinkedIn asks you, it wants you to put an email in to connect with somebody, and if that's the case, don't worry about it. Just go on to the next one. Don't try. I wouldn't. If people want an email for you to connect with them, then they probably don't really want to be connecting with many people. So
or they're just going to try and sell you something.
Well, he's kind of just there. It's just almost like a gatekeeper, isn't it? But I just find it, why would you be on a social media platform if you don't really want to connect with people? But anyway.
That's bizarre.
It is a bit strange, isn't it?
It's like, yeah, that's very weird. You can use hashtags as well, can't you?
Yeah, you can, yeah. So on your contents, you can use hashtags. There's, you know, lots and lots of them. You can see, obviously, just like any other platform, you know, you put them in and they come up. They don't come up with numbers. You know, you can't see, you know, what the following is on a particular hashtag. But again, some people don't particularly like them. I use them because I follow a few hashtags on there, and so, you know, what happens is that obviously if you're on that hashtag, then, you know, your content comes up in that particular in that particular feed. If you just search that hashtag, it will come up. So again, it's all it is all, you know, again, it is searchable by keywords like that, but I don't think it's used as broadly. The hashtag, you know, tagging is probably a bit more common on LinkedIn. So always make sure things like, if you were quoting a statistic, tag where it comes from. If it's a publication, tag them. If it's a person, tag them, because the chances are it reaches into their audience as well. So that's what you're always trying to do, just trying to always extend your audience to theirs, basically.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. I've learned a lot tonight. I'm going to be off on my my link. I'll be up until 1 o'clock in the morning on LinkedIn now, putting everything into practice.
Yeah, well, so do you want? I'm happy to look at yours if you want. But the other thing is, there's also like there's like a banner type thing, a bit like you have in Facebook, which is quite a good thing. You can create those on things like Canva, and that's quite a nice. If you make yours look really eye-catching, and you can put obviously your telephone number, email, any kind of call to action, anything you're promoting at the time, you can put in there. It's all about, I would say, your profile, or again, it's all about making it stand out on LinkedIn, because that's what people look at all the time. So a bit like people on Instagram look at the grid, and LinkedIn, they do look at your profile a lot. So always have a nice photo. Don't use a passport photo. Get somebody to. You laugh, but some people do. And you just sort of think, oh my God, why are you doing that? And don't use some dark, grainy photo. Just think about it. Think about, because all these things, they do influence why people connect with you. Because if you're like, you can't see your photo properly, or or maybe if you've got something quirky about you, do show that off. Do you know what I mean? It's just be yourself, but make it eye-catching, and people sort of, you're trying to sort of like attract people in. So things like your photo do make a difference. The banner does does make a difference. So and the features and the featured section does make a difference. Really go and have a look at that. Make sure you use that, because it's a really simple technique, but a lot of people don't. I mean, one of my clients that I did all of their senior management team. I optimized all their profiles, and they were so chuffed. They were like, oh God, we've got all this, it looks so good, but it looks just so much nicer immediately. It just looks so much more professional. So I
must admit, I do love that about LinkedIn over Instagram, is that you're not like under pressure to keep your grid like on fleek, as the kids would say.
The grid.
I know. I was
a bit of an obsession.
Well, some days I've just not posted because I thought, I've not got anything that will fit in with the grid. So now I'm a bit more fluid with it, but it can be like, it can limit you to posting, whereas LinkedIn's not like that, is it?
No, I mean, you don't. It's not kind of dated in the same way. No, it's not. It's it's really different. Yeah, and I think you're right. Instagram, people do get a bit hung up on it. I've been on a couple of those. I had my Instagram profile critiqued on Clubhouse the other day, and it was quite funny. And it was fine. And she was sort of saying about my grid, but it's interesting, isn't it? Because she was sort of saying, oh yeah, you need to have more kind of, some of the kind of like some tips and things need to be sort of a bit clearer. But I get quite a lot of, I mean, I haven't had my Instagram that long, but it's kind of growing. It's growing on a daily basis, and I do get engagement on it. So I think it's got to be what you're comfortable with, hasn't it? It depends, again, any of these things, it's what's your strategy with it. If LinkedIn is your strategy for developing your business, then you need to spend time hanging out there. And the other thing is when you connect with people, is then engaging with them, looking at their looking at their posts, engaging with what they're doing, not promoting yourself on their posts, but engaging with their content, so that you then they then become part of your feed and you see what's happening. So I think it all comes down to what is your strategy, which is your platform, or which one. I would only say you should only really probably have a couple, because they're just so time consuming. But I know we're awful. I mean, I'm terrible. I sometimes can't leave. I think, I've got to do it. I've got to post. But and it's like, you can't put the same thing on you've got to be careful what you put in, and sort of like shape it for, because obviously LinkedIn is different. You obviously get a few more words. It's just a bit it's a bit easier to read stuff on LinkedIn, I think, whereas obviously Instagram is so much about the image, isn't it? It's so much about whatever the picture you're using. And a lot of people say that you should put a lot more of yourself on Instagram, a lot of your pictures and things like that, rather than add that to your grid. So
I'm going to dream tonight about grids.
It's that 9, the grid, isn't it? Is it 9?
I know, top 9, yeah.
Top 9 on the grid.
Oh, don't. And then you're like, and the thing is, when it comes up like a completely random picture that you didn't even like think was getting that much engagement or that many, and you're like,
yeah,
what? Sorry, completely mine was this mug. So I'd put a picture of this mug up, and it was like number 1 last month.
Really? Mm-hmm. That's funny, isn't it? I think it's weird how these things, like they pick up certain, what is it that makes people engage with certain posts? Some just are, aren't they? They're just, and I do definitely think people like pictures of you. I think people like to see who, definitely think. That's why I think on LinkedIn again is, make sure you add pictures in of yourself, videos of yourself, because if you are just a single person business, then it is about you are the brand, aren't you? So ultimately they are going to be working with you, so they kind of need to see what you're like, and it just adds, it takes away any of that thing where if they don't like the look of you, then I just think, well, if they don't like what I say, then that's fine, because they won't come to me. So
yeah, then they're not my client, they're not my ideal client.
Exactly, anyway. That's right. So that's good though, isn't it? So good filter. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, do you want to let everyone know where they can find you? I know you mentioned your group earlier on, but do you just want to tell everyone? And we'll leave the link in the comments as well.
Yeah. So the group is Facebook group called Get Yourself Noticed, and then my company is Zapp Communications. So it's at Zapp Comms on Instagram and at Zapp Comms on Facebook. And I'm Louise Burke. So if anyone had any questions, then I'm obviously in Michelle's group. So please, by all means, pop any questions on there, and I'll do my best. But I'm a real kind of, I think I might class myself as a power LinkedIn user. I use it a lot, and I think it's quite a valuable tool. But it's in my business anyway, and I think it can be for a lot of people if it's used properly. So yeah. Thank you very much for having me.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to put your tips into action, and I will let you know in a week or so.
It takes time. Remember, it takes time. It's
all right. 10 days.
10 days.
I've got no patience. Okay, my lovely. Thank you so much for coming in and speaking to us. I will speak to you soon.
Thanks, Michelle. Take care.
Bye.
See you later. Bye.